It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara.
Red Eye Radio, we are not part of the shutdown. So we are here, and we have no air traffic control skills, apparently.
By the way, that's going to cause a problem. We'll talk about that coming up here in a little bit, because there's you look at it, and again, this isn't the busiest part of the travel season, but those kind of things make the local news. The national news will cover it, but it really makes that's something that we started talking about a couple of years ago, and it was really with the Greg Abbott, sending the bus loads, to New York, Philadelphia, whatever, all the blue cities, and and what we said was, he said, well, that's going to be a problem because local media will cover that,
right?
And and it was a huge problem. And we've talked about, for example, in Virginia, Jay Jones is still in.
He's still in.
I just realized
the party still supports him.
He's still in.
Yes.
He still didn't drop. He didn't drop out yesterday.
Right.
Well, there was so much other news that I just realized now he's still in.
Oh man, the Democrats too were getting hammered over that because they're going after Trump. You guys are supporting a guy who wanted his opponent's kids to die.
I just realized I was sure yesterday.
My gosh.
I mean, he's gonna have to get out because, as I've said this over and over again, the Republicans are saying he needs to get out. Republicans are secretly going, he needs to stay in.
He needs to stay in. He needs to, because the party needs to demonstrate who they are, and they are.
Right.
They're doing a good job at it. But you're right. It is, the local media, because a lot of it, like out in the L.A. area, the Burbank airport that went, air traffic control, work from home, whatever that was during that 6-hour period. It was from another air traffic control center. Another tower was controlling
in San Diego,
in the region.
Well, as they said, I've read, you don't have towers. A lot of places don't have towers,
right?
For air traffic control.
Yeah,
that's for ground control.
Right. Yeah,
ground control has the.
So they're they have a center in that region that can handle all of that.
Ground control to Major Tom.
Right. Exactly. Or Captain Rick or whoever it is. But then the story on Nashville and everything else. The difference is. Those local stories start to go because L.A. was, L.A. media was doing a lot of that on the Burbank thing, and then it goes national very quickly. Same thing with Nashville, and then you start seeing, the stories play out. One of the elements in that Burbank story, by the way, that was repeated in the Burbank story, that is important, is the shortages were there before the shutdown. This just makes it exponentially worse.
Right.
And the sick outs, and then the president mentioning yesterday, basically saying, well, we don't know. Some people may not get back pay.
Well, no, what he was saying was if you're laid off, not if you're
working.
Right.
They took that and ran with it.
Right.
The point is, they took that and ran with it as if all workers may not get back pay. That's the way the media activist media ran with it.
Yes.
And if you look at his words, he was saying, well, because he said, what was it? I don't know. Was it a week ago when he said, look, we're going to take an opportunity here if we have to trim down the government. And there may be some roles that are completely gone that don't come back.
But he hasn't done it yet.
No, he hasn't done it yet.
But there's a reason why he hasn't done it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And one of the reasons he hasn't done it is that all that money transferred to employees is part of the GDP.
Right.
All that money that's paid, if the money's sitting there.
Well, it's just like any government spending,
it's
also part of the GDP.
And you saw the ISM manufacturing now down 7 months in a row.
And it's also part of the jobs report. The various jobs reports And with that being weak right now, you don't want to rock that boat either.
Right, because that's one thing they're concerned about. They want the government open.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a little scary moment 2 days ago when the president said, well, I'm willing to discuss health care. In fact, we're doing it now.
Right.
And the Democrats said, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
But he said, I'm willing to discuss it, but the subsidies are wrong. We can't have these subsidies. And I'm like, well, then there's nothing to negotiate.
Right. Right.
Because first off, when they said, I'm willing to negotiate on the health care, the Republican Party went, is he going to just say and fold on the subsidies? And then the next statement was, but the subsidies are a huge problem. We can't have these subsidies.
And then the post we didn't talk about it, but the post by MTG the other day talking about her kids being affected, that if the money isn't there, her kids' premiums are going to more than double or something like that. And she put it on X, put it out there. She goes, I'm not voting with the crowd or whatever. I'm, standing up for, basically saying it's already, the cat's out of the bag. You can't undo it. You can't. I think the case she was trying to make, actually, I don't know the case she was trying to make, but I think the possibility of what she was trying to say was, you can't undo it without the political pain, but that's something for behind closed doors, not something you post on X and you wait and hold your vote to see where it's going to go. I don't have a problem with not going with the party line. I have a problem with some of the lack of critical thinking we've seen from MTG lately and on that and other things. So, we'll see where all of this goes, but I don't.
Well, the reality is Republicans and the administration are caught between a rock and a hard place.
Well,
and that's the fact that once something is temporary, once the public gets something, it's almost impossible to pull it back. And if you pull it back and it's gone, because the thing is, if you're not going to negotiate it now, and then you negotiate it by November 21st, and the subsidies all come in, you're going to have a significant portion of your own party that's furious.
Yeah.
And then if you don't do it and the subsidies are gone by January, you're going to have a significant number of Americans and even Republicans, because remember, Republicans back a few years ago were going to get rid of Obamacare. And then they did the polling of Republicans who said, well, no, just take away the mandate, keep the subsidies there.
Right. 2016, Republicans were promising to do it, and then 2017, when they got in office, they couldn't do it.
And when we brought it up, Republicans were furious at us for mentioning that.
Right. Yeah.
That's the reason that, well, once you start giving something out, even many Republicans want that subsidy to continue. And that's the challenge. I'll put it this way. That's the challenge / problem that the Republicans have right now. Either way they go, there's going to be pushback from people in their own party on it.
Yeah. Look, I think that may have been, and I, again, can't tell you. Maybe only MTG could tell you. Maybe. I think maybe that's where she was going with it. But the problem is using your two kids as an example is a problem. For example, if my kids had large college loans during the Biden years, I wouldn't have been saying, listen, my kids are suffering and they need their college loans to be paid by the taxpayer, not themselves, not the people who actually agreed. I don't attack it that way.
Well, no.
She decided to go that route, which was the biggest problem I had.
If you did it that way, you're going to have to deal with me on that one.
Yeah, well, you're going to pay more. Yeah.
I mean, we're going to be having a great debate on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't be for it, but because you're kids,
yeah.
And now you're okay with your kids getting it, as long as, see, it's all about you.
Your cat have a college loan?
No, I need help to pay for my cat health insurance.
Cat daycare. They probably have. I'm sure they have that. Don't they have cat daycare?
Did someone bring that up?
Oh, no, yes.
6 or 7 years ago?
Healthcare for pets.
About healthcare for, not just healthcare for pets.
Yeah.
But subsidizing it? Wasn't that brought up?
That's what I meant. Yeah, no, a subsidy for.
Somebody brought that up about 8, 9, 10 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's low-cost vaccinations for pets that I see all the time. that you can get. We don't need to put this on the taxpayer. Sorry, we just don't need to put that on the tax. I loved my Bella. We lost her a few months ago. Great companion. But no, that's not on the taxpayer. My gosh, the cost of dog food.
Well, healthcare for cats has gone up.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
It's
has the cat food gone up? Dog food skyrocketed.
Not that I've noticed. Not that much. No.
My daughter was sent me a text. Yeah.
My cat doesn't eat much, so
yeah.
I just realized I get a $12 bag. It could have been $9.
Yeah.
6 months ago, and since I only get it once every 2 months, I wouldn't know. It could have gone up 30%.
Bella was 65 pounds, so she was she was a Belgian Shepherd, and so, but she didn't eat a lot like her breed. But the point is I bought in bulk. And then when she passed, I gave what I had left to my daughter for her pet, and she just ran out recently, and she sent me a text saying, "Dad, it's like $60 for a 40-pound bag." And I said, "Well, you probably want to switch brands because what I was buying was more expensive." But I mean, still, the cost of beef, $10 a pound, $10 a pound for beef right now because of the cattle shortage. I mean, we're at a very historically low rate on the head count for cattle right now. It's just everything's getting so expensive.
But what I wanted to start with,
what do you got?
And I sidetracked myself.
Yeah, we tend to do that.
Was Durbin yesterday? Dick Durbin.
Oh my gosh,
Pam Bondi and Dick Durbin. This is
man.
just. It was just well. The thing is, the talking points must be from you appear before Congress and they start telling you about your credibility. You simply pound on them.
Yeah.
You simply go.
You can shred them easy.
You're asking me about my credibility.
Yeah. Exactly.
Here's what and she went after everybody.
Oh my gosh.
Adam Schiff. They were just talking over each other.
Yeah.
It was like, don't ask me about my credibility. You have no credibility. Listen to this here from Durbin and the Attorney General on Chicago.
The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
I love that. I love it. I absolutely love that. Because if you're a Dick Durbin, you got nothing.
No, you don't.
You had nothing to begin with. But I thought to myself, that's a weak place to start. It was almost like watching someone, one of the greatest hitters in baseball play T-ball against children. It really was.
Well, I think that in the past, there was no pushback from Republican administrations.
Yes. I thought about that. I thought about that with her, and then was it Kash Patel recently?
Yeah,
I think.
And now it's just they look and they go, "You're questioning my credibility,
right? Yeah,
sir. Here's what you did." And she did the same thing. We'll play a ton more audio.
Yeah,
coming up. She did the same thing with Adam Schiff,
mm-hmm.
and she went after Durbin about Epstein, and there were and then you kept the files. He goes, "No, I didn't." And then they went to Marsha Blackburn, who said, "Yes, you did." I mean, it was just you looked at it, and it was almost as if Pam Bondi was the oversight for the Democratic senators.
Yeah. Yeah. It really did come off as she came off as the authority. You're right.
Yeah. It's like almost like she was the oversight authority.
Yeah.
Questioning what Democrats were doing. It was just wow. I was just wow. Let me just. Do we have? Yeah, we got time. One more. Here we go. All right. Here we go. This is it. This is here.
Your city has a murder rate 5 times higher than New York's. 571 homicides last year. If you were serious about protecting your people, you would be asking this administration for help. You're saying that we're coming into your state and your city. We're there to help make America safe. And Illinois safe, whether or not you want to.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, it was so bad that I'm thinking the Democrats might not be there when Bondi shows up again. When it's the next time for her to be there, it's like, guys, we're not winning the PR battle here when she's here.
That's exactly what I thought. I thought that's not a good day. What do you do next time?
Well, or this may have the Democrats go, well, look, we need term limits because she can't look at the past history of new candidates that are in there. They don't have a history for her to attack.
We need a revolving door. Oh, my gosh, yeah. That's funny.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller. Due to safety concerns, many motor carriers have policies that limit or prohibit the use of cruise control. You should only use it in good driving conditions, during daylight hours, and on roads that have light traffic, few curves or hills, and a consistent speed limit. Never use cruise control when operating in adverse driving conditions, including wet, icy, or slippery roads, during rush hour in heavy traffic or on congested highways, at night, or when you're tired or fatigued. You want to be controlling and adjusting your speed as you drive instead of having to suddenly brake if you encounter an obstacle. In the case of a slippery road surface, you want to be able to slow your vehicle by not accelerating instead of using the brakes whenever possible. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. The other thing, too, it seems like in the media, because of everything, the National Guard going to, Chicago and Portland and whatever, it's as if the Democrats still now want to debate illegal immigration.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yesterday, there were just some of the discussions. I'm just like, why? You're fighting this. You continue to fight this over and over again. It's not. This isn't an argument that you're going to win.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it makes me wonder why they think they're winning it. Because they reapproach it every single day. They haven't left it. It's been on the forefront for them every single day. Do they think that being louder or more radical or more violent is the way is winning? I mean, I know that some of them think that. Some of them think that violence makes you a hero. But the party itself won't get off of it. And I have to believe because, again, it's, you mentioned yesterday, look, even if they don't have the majority, if they've got a large enough group, they still gain control in the blue, or they still maintain control in the blue states, in the blue cities, in the blue counties. And maybe that's enough for them. Maybe right now it's, you know what, we're going to be full on radical and we're not going to give that up. We're not going to worry about the independence in the U.S. We're not going to worry about anything else. We're not going to worry about middle America. We own the blue states. We own all the major cities. And we'll keep that ownership.
Right.
I don't know.
And well, I also think, for example, in the whole Jones thing in Virginia, Virginia Republicans can win. But if you look at all the Democrats that are promoting the insane narrative on so many different issues, whether it's the radical transgender movement, whether it's murder,
right?
the murder narrative, they're like, we're competitive in all these races. We're going to win some of these races. And if we can do it in Virginia, we can do it nationwide.
Yep.
They may be 80-20 issues, but all we have to say is Trump, and it becomes a 51-49 issue for us.
Right. Maybe. Yeah.
listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
We're Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just reading this article in Fox. DHS takes on Pritzker's smorgasbord of lies, releases list debunking his claims. Mm-hmm. The Department of Homeland Security accused Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker of serving the American public a smorgasbord of lies as it released a list that says debunks his claims about federal law enforcement operations in Chicago. The federal pushback comes as the Democratic governor and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson filed a lawsuit Monday to block the Trump administration from deploying hundreds of National Guard troops from Illinois and Texas in Chicago and the surrounding areas. Our message to J.B. Pritzker, get out of your mansion and see Chicago, DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said in a statement. If J.B. Pritzker actually walked the streets of his own city, he would see domestic terrorists and violent rioters attacking police officers and the scourge of violent crime as a direct result of his own policies. The DHS added that it is setting the record straight about Pritzker's lies and defending the brave men and women of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Customs and Border Protection from his smears and slander. So, I mean, it's just, it is such a, it really is incredible when you see this happen. You know, as we have stated, the whole thing about fascists and Nazis and, oh, did you see? Let me find, I I think I saved the article here. You know, the Federalist .com did a entire story on, and I saved it here. Here it is. I just thought about it right now.
Yeah.
Let me hang on here. Let me get it.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Do I have? Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I can't get it here.
All right.
What happened? Okay, my it's not working here where I saved it. It's not working. But the Federalist did a entire story. I think I have it. Hold it. It's my computer's just messing up on me for a little bit. Here it goes. I can't find it here at the moment. Where they said they went and did the exact same thing that we did yesterday on the whole children. You know, basically being zip tied.
Yeah, right.
And they went through the witness. The witness said, "Well, she said they're zip tied to each other."
Right.
She goes, "Well, that's not handcuffing somebody. That's keeping children together."
Right.
Or whatever. And it said, and when they say children, what's a child?
Exactly.
Is it there was nothing that was specific in it, and they're calling it the great hoax. They're saying that everybody jumped on this because the reason that it hasn't gone any further is because it wasn't true.
Right. Well, the only, again, in a situation like that, the only reason you would do it is knowing that these gangs quite often, in fact, most often, recruit young boys, 11, 12 years old, and they teach them to be violent. And if those agents believed, let's say they came into a home or an apartment or whatever, and they came upon 11 or 12-year-old boys that were part of a group, then you would want, for the safety of everybody involved, you would want to make sure that you could control their hands while you got them to safety and you could sort things out. It's sad all day long, but I'll tell you that it's the most dangerous thing is second guessing in a situation like that when you're going in and you've got adults and children in a room, because if something gets in your way and one of the bad guys grabs a weapon, then lives can be lost very quickly.
Here it is. Durbin spreads cartoonishly false hoax about ICE agents tying up children. Dick, of course, it's Durbin.
Yeah.
Remember, we went after Durbin. He's a piece of slime.
Yeah.
And I don't mind name calling like this because he started out a long time ago. What was it, 2005, 2004, 2005?
Yeah.
When he compared U.S. troops at Gitmo as just like Pol Pot, the genocidal murderer in Asia, back half century ago. And when he did that, we said he's a piece of slime.
Yeah,
and of course the people of Illinois keep electing that piece of slime over and over again. He doesn't give a damn about the people of Illinois, but they don't give a damn either because they keep electing him. I'm not talking to our great audiences there, our conservative audience, but he's a piece of slime.
Yeah,
said he opened an oversight hearing in the Department of Justice, pushing the new narrative Democrats have latched onto, the lie that ICE agents zip-tied children during a Chicago raid. He said, quote, in the middle of the night, federal agents pulled women and children out of their beds, crashed down the doors to their homes, destroyed their apartments, zip-tied children and others, and detained immigrants and U.S. citizens alike for hours, Durbin claimed. When one witness complained about the treatment of the small children, an agent laughed at her and said, F them kids. Illinois Governor Pritzker gave a dramatic description of this very same story during a Monday press conference and has been repeating it every chance he gets. But Assistant Secretary of Department of Homeland Security, Tricia McLaughlin, posted that the children were never zip-tied. This is a shameful and disgusting lie. President Trump and Secretary Noem will not let children be exploited and trafficked by gangs and criminals like the past administration did.
Yeah.
The woman claiming she heard that implausible ICE quote, F them kids, is seen at the end of the video in a social media post below. This woman describes kids as zip-tied to each other, which is different than the handcuff formation usually seen with zip ties. So even her claims about what she allegedly saw is not clear. This comes from thefederalist.com. Whenever Democrats and media push emotionally laden hoaxes involving children, it is worth remembering that young people are considered minors, kids or children, until 18.
Right.
Politicians and defense attorneys like to use words like kids to conjure up a mental picture of frightened toddlers, but 17-year-old gang bangers are kids too, so the mention of children must be evaluated critically.
Right.
When the narrative began, Bill Maloogian of Fox News explained the background on this widely circulated photo, purportedly showing an ICE officer zip-tying a child. You've seen that picture, right?
As a joke.
Right. It appeared heartbreaking until it was revealed that it was not ICE abusing children.
Nope.
Rather, the video portrayed a dad posing a joke photo with his own child.
It was his own son. It was a police officer having fun with his own son.
You can follow the lies being told about ICE at the Federalist ICE Lie Tracker, which is updated often. The persistent left repeatedly seizes on hoaxes like these to take down the Trump administration and its efforts to enforce immigration law. If it can just repeat this lie enough times without it being refuted. Durbin spoke the zip tie lie into the record during the oversight hearing, during his opening remarks, giving it an air of credibility because of his position, but Durbin did not ask Attorney General Pam Bondi, who was there to answer questions about it. Why?
Yeah, why not?
Because he knew it wasn't true.
Right.
Yep. Otherwise, he would have, because that, look, if it's a child thing, if you can get the word child and somehow abuse of child and use it against the Trump administration, you do it. Why didn't he go after Bondi and say, why are you zip tying children?
Right.
He has no confidence that it was true.
Right. They realized because in order to produce evidence, you're going to have to show the post by that police officer dad having fun with his son. And he created a meme out of it saying He's now, that his son is under house arrest and, because he couldn't follow the rules, having fun. And it's a young toddler. And it was clearly, by the way, also included, the laughing emojis in the post and the whole thing. It was clear that it was a joke. And they realized they had nothing, which Dick Durbin has had from day one on pretty much everything.
If there's ever been an example of Democrats not caring, we said this a long time ago, Democrats don't care about transgenders.
No.
They could care less about it, because they wouldn't be saying things like instead of the Berkeley professor going after Josh Hawley a couple of years ago when he was saying, well, explain to me the whole transgender thing, she would have said, look, there's a mental health issue here. And understand the mental health issue is so great that us discussing it, we believe, causes these young people to want to commit suicide.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a huge mental health issue that we need to focus on here. She didn't say that. She implied there's a great mental health issue, and the mental health issue starts because Josh Hawley is asking questions about transgenders. If you truly cared about transgenders and you are making the claim that you can't even talk about it because there's such a mental health problem that if you don't automatically agree with them, they'll commit suicide.
Yeah.
Well, then you don't give a damn about their life.
Right.
They didn't care about COVID.
Nope.
How do we know? They kept the southern border open. They didn't care whether Americans died of COVID. This whole thing about you need to follow this rule and you need to follow this and 6 feet and everything else. They didn't even buy. We know Gavin Newsom didn't buy into any of it. They didn't care if Americans were exposed to COVID. Otherwise, they would have kept the southern border closed. You see now, lowest number of people crossing the border since 1970.
Yeah. Yeah,
and so they could have done it. They didn't wish to do it.
Well, that's it. We've seen the evidence of it all across the board. They don't care about the safety of anybody. And just like Pam Bondi pointed out, Dick Durbin doesn't care about the people of Chicago.
They don't care about the people of Chicago. They don't care about the when you look at these cities where crime has happened, they don't care. They just don't care.
Yeah.
They care more about, and every single day they show they care more about the criminal.
Yeah.
Than they do.
Yeah.
But the Democrat voters keep voting them in.
They again, I really believe there's something to the theory of, what? We got our blue states. We got all the major cities, even in red states. We're winning. We don't need the White House. We can shut down because they believe, again, targeting federal agents. They believe they're heroes doing this.
Yeah.
This is where they think they've got to win. I have no doubt. They have these strongholds. And like you said, look, if, in states like Virginia and other and purple areas where they think, well, we can also turn the juice up there. Look at the makeup in the Senate and the House. If they don't get the White House, okay. But the Republican Party is probably not going to get a supermajority anytime in the coming years.
866-98-RED-I.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome to Red Eye Radio. When you look at it, the demonization of ICE, the demonization of the Border Patrol, the demonization of police, the whole defund the police movement that came from the Democrats and was mainstream. You think about that over the last 5 years, because the entire demonization of the police, which was a lie.
Yeah.
That all police departments are systemically racist to hunt down and kill blacks. That was the lie in 2020, to ICE being part of the Gestapo and everything else. The Democrats this is mainstream Democrats are now involved in this effort over the last 5 years to demonize to the point of absolute insane hysteria by calling them Gestapo and invaders and everything else. People that are there to protect the people of the United States and the law that was passed by the elected representatives of the people of the United States. They want demonized. They want them marginalized. Understand that.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Let's do a golden oldie story.
Okay.
Right? We're going to do a golden oldie story.
Are we harking? Are we going to hark back?
We're going to hark back to a time when you and I, and the questions that we were asking, seem all now to be coming into line. The dots are connecting here.
Yeah.
And this is a story that came out yesterday. Then Vice President Joe Biden sought to bury a CIA intelligence report on his December 2015 visit to Ukraine, which revealed that Ukrainian officials felt his son Hunter's business dealings in their country undermined the anti-corruption message that Biden had come to deliver. According to the newly released CIA report, by the way, the CIA had this info back then. The report, it's been released.
Right.
But remember, this was the Obama-Biden CIA.
Right. This goes back to 2015.
Together. Right.
Yeah.
According to the newly released CIA report, Ukrainian officials in then President Poroshenko's government believed Hunter's work for Burisma Holdings revealed a double standing in the way American politicians approach corruption in foreign countries, lecturing governments to clean up their act while their family members profited from lucrative influence peddling deals. These officials view the alleged ties of the U.S. vice president's family to corruption in Ukraine as evidence of a double standard within the United States government towards matters of corruption and political power, the document reads. An email attached to the CIA report indicates Joe Biden asked the intelligence community to bury the report, claiming and its damning assessment of the Biden family's business enterprise. I just spoke with the VP NSA, and he would strongly prefer the report not be disseminated. Thanks for understanding. An official from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence emailed a CIA official in February of 2016. Another CIA official was CC'd on the email, which appears to have been related to a query from Biden's office about the report. CIA Director John Ratcliffe released a report Tuesday morning after determining it is in the public interest. Hunter Biden was making $80,000 per month as a board member of Burisma while his father led the Obama administration's Ukraine policy. The younger Biden had no prior experience in the energy industry. As vice president, Joe Biden took a strong stance against corruption in Eastern Europe, even as his son was using his family name to secure business deals. Now, at that time of Biden's speech, Ukrainian prosecutor Viktor Shokin was investigating Burisma, and several months later, Biden pressured the Poroshenko administration to fire Shokin, later bragging that he threatened to withhold U.S. aid if he wasn't fired. Now, this all goes back to when you and I were discussing impeachment number 1.
Yep.
And we stated back then, and now we believe it is the case, and this is more evidence on top of that.
Yeah.
We said this months ago, I don't know, maybe even years ago,
right,
that the reason the first impeachment happened, we believed, is because Trump was actually getting too close to the influence operation back then.
In fact, I was sitting in with the WBAP morning show here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we had an opportunity back then to talk to John Radcliffe, and I asked Radcliffe, I proposed the theory. I said, all right, what I think happened is quite possibly that phone call between President Trump in 2017, summer of 2017, and the newly elected President Zelensky coming in Ukraine was populated by, in part, a CIA officer that had been assigned to Joe Biden specifically for Ukraine during the Biden. I think we both done that recently. The Obama-Biden years. And that's the officer that went then to Adam Schiff's office. He was on that phone call, heard Trump tell Zelensky, hey, we expect you to follow up when it comes to corruption. This was your big campaign promise, and we expect to do that, you to do that. And, of course, it includes, the Bidens in that regard. And then we said, well, wait a minute. That sounds like because once that CIA officer, again, who was assigned to Joe Biden on Ukraine during the Obama years, took that information to Adam Schiff's office, and that spurred the first impeachment. Keep in mind, then Speaker Pelosi had been saying for months, no, we're not going to impeach. No, we're not going to impeach. No, we're not going to impeach. That hits Adam Schiff's desk from that CIA officer, and you and I had a theory, and we believe this is further evidence to support that theory, that President Trump then got too close to the fire as to what was going on or had been going on in Ukraine with the Bidens and corruption.
Yeah, it wasn't election interference that he was impeached for.
No.
It was he was getting too close to the truth.
Exactly. And that's, again, and Radcliffe agreed that is, that was a plausible theory, and he supported that theory as well then, and of course now a CIA director and releasing these files. You can see, again, clear evidence, I believe, to support that theory that the Bidens were really worried. Now, keep in mind, too, because here's something else I'll introduce, and you and I have talked about this. In 2016, this goes back to 2015. What is it that didn't happen in 2016? Here is a vice president that served 2 terms under Obama, but yet he didn't get a shot at the White House in 2016. Hillary did. Why? Did they believe this whole thing with corruption in Ukraine could boil over, that it would be found out and it would destroy, and they didn't want that big stain on the Democratic Party at the time? I'm asking a question. Like you said, you and I go back years to asking questions because I think it's a very plausible theory that for some reason, whatever reason, the party did not want Joe Biden in 2016. Tell me what that was. I think it's linked to they knew the corruption thing eventually is going to hit.
Yeah, we've always thought that too, that because they knew about it.
Yep. And so this would have been fresh off of that. Again, this goes back to 2015.
Right.
But you're coming out of, that was new information. And then Zelensky gets into office in the summer of 2017 in Ukraine, and he was gaining, when he was campaigning. Keep in mind, Zelensky was a celebrity in Ukraine. I don't know if a lot of people remember that. But
comedian,
right?
Wasn't
he
a
was
stand-up
comedian, actor, singer, I think.
Yeah.
And so he was popular, and there was some pretty good confidence that he was going to win. You know, he was a strong populist because of his celebrity stardom, well, kind of like, but not to the degree of Donald Trump. And that is, again, all of these, I believe, are sound theories. They all make sense. Again, I asked the question, why would you not offer Joe Biden? Remember what Joe Biden was saying in 2016. Oh, I could win. Well, why isn't Joe Biden running? Here he comes in. I mean, he would be the natural, right? He served under a 2-term president, and in 2016 should have been the nominee, but he wasn't. Hillary was. And you can say, well, Hillary made a deal with Obama in 2008. All right, there may be something to that, but I think there's a lot more evidence that also, and maybe that's part of it too, but there's a lot more evidence now that points to Joe Biden and his corruption spoiling everything for the Democratic Party, which eventually it really did, not just his corruption, but of course, whatever's going on with his cognitive issues.
We knew that because Obama knew it and was concerned about it, the perception of what was going on. And remember, we knew this way back,
yeah,
that the, I got mind blank here, I just forgot it. I'll figure it out.
Well,
but the State Department.
Yeah.
Remember, the State Department was very concerned about the perception of Hunter Biden working for Burisma, where they went to the White House and just said, this is bad stuff.
Right.
And so that we have always thought that in 2015, 2016, going into the election of that year, that's one of the reasons that Obama didn't want him. We've always asked that question. I'll put it this way.
Yeah.
Asked that question and speculated that is that why he didn't get the support of Obama and why so many Democrats said no. As bad as Hillary has, as bad as her baggage is, this baggage of influence peddling, if it comes out, would destroy Biden in the general election. We always were wondering whether that was the case.
Right.
Why he wasn't just escorted right to the front.
Well, because it stands to reason here, again, supports this theory, this further evidence that we have here, that it's too fresh. That fire was still burning, from that 2015. Again, the CIA, that tells, if this goes back to 2015, that tells you, well, the CIA was working on it, which means everybody knew about it. We know that Obama knew about it. There was great concern about it.
Yeah.
We knew that everybody was talking about it, which tells you Joe Biden was too hot. You can't offer him up as the nominee.
Well, if Joe Biden, this is how we know Obama knew. If Joe Biden knew the CIA report existed, and they didn't want it out, then Obama knew that the CIA report existed.
Well, because since when does the vice president get to come in and tell the CIA what to do? They report directly to the president.
Well, something, with all the top secret stuff he had
at
different locations and areas, maybe that was the thought process that the vice president was in control of the top secrets and not the president.
What populated those files? I mean, how much stuff would be there that he had from not just when he was a senator, but how much stuff did he have? But this is, again, there is, because this report is coming from the CIA.
And it was the CIA at that time, because people say, well, this is just Radcliffe's CIA. No. This is the report from back then that was buried.
Exactly.
Because Biden wanted it. But it wasn't buried because prominent Democrats saw it, including we look, if Biden saw it and he was vice president, Obama saw it.
Right.
And when Obama didn't endorse him and say he's the guy, we've always thought it's because they knew of the corruption that was going on at that time. We've always speculated that was part of it.
And I know a lot of people are asking, well, why didn't Trump get this done during his first term? Keep in mind, Trump, there were concerns. Again, he didn't have the support of his own party that he has today. He had Jeff Sessions. Early on, it was him and Jeff Sessions. and then everybody else that was on his side was named Trump. It seemed like his own party wasn't working with him like they are now. And that's the difference. You need that. And then, of course, we can talk about all the concerns within the deep state and how all of that works. And how are you going to put that out there? The timing of it all. Politically, you got to be careful of how you handle all of this. But since you've got all the case built against Biden, and no one's defending Biden anymore, this is decent timing to say, see, we told you so. Because that's the one thing about Donald Trump, is that give him enough time and he'll turn around and go, yeah, you know what? I was right. I was right to issue my concern to Zelensky on the phone during the summer of 2017.
Well, that's a great point that you just made there. I just realized it. This came out. Now, one Democrat came out and said, well, this is a bogus report. This is Radcliffe trying to do. Nobody is defending Biden anymore.
Nobody is. And if they had done it in the first term, well, look, Trump's tried to juggle the Russian hoax, 2 impeachments and everything else. It probably would have got lost in the fray. But now it rises to the top, and everybody can see it clearly with no Democrats as of yet defending Biden, because who wants to? They don't need him.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Pumpkins in the fall perhaps conjures visions of a decorative home display or a pumpkin pie dessert with the Thanksgiving meal. But Carol Connell of the Alabama Cooperative Extension System says more consumers should think of pumpkin as a year-round superfood.
If you're someone who really, really enjoys cooking, you can buy pumpkin when it's fresh in the fall and prepare it easily to be frozen so that you can use it throughout the year.
Not to mention processed pumpkin available anytime in supermarkets and retailers. When it comes to nutrition,
it's really quite nutrient dense, which just means that it packs a lot of nutrients like vitamins and minerals for every calorie that it contributes to the diet.
And beyond pumpkin pie, Connell says it's a versatile fruit with many ways to prepare it. And yes, I said fruit.
It's actually a fruit because it grows from a flower that has to be pollinated by pollinating insects like bees.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. So we'll see where that goes. And it's just new information out there. I mean, nobody's going to go after Biden now.
No.
But it's important to let people know, what was going on during that time. Information is important so people can, look at it. I think I do need to find. I just thought about something. I got to find the audio cut that from Trump's son, who was on with Cuomo the other day, Chris Cuomo.
Yeah,
and he was saying, well, you're going after Comey. I mean, this law firm. And he goes, excuse me, trying to make the comparison, and then lays out what they did to his father.
Right.
And Cuomo was just sort of like looking like, okay.
Dumbfounded. Yeah.
But when he goes through everything that they did to him, and say, and you're saying that we're going against Comey, where we've got to prove evidence,
right?
That we believe he did something wrong, is the same thing as what happened to my father, and he lays it out.
Yeah.
And so we'll get to that one. Plus, I got time to play it now. I want to play this audio. This is Lindsey Graham yesterday. The whole thing about what they call the abuse of the FBI and Jack Smith, who, for their January 6th investigation, tapped into the phones of members of Republicans in Congress, including Lindsey Graham.
Suggest he may be a Russian agent, or Carter Page, that is now no longer reliable. How does that not get to the court? Can you tell me how that doesn't get to the court? You can't, can you?
I can't, Senator, and I
Can you tell me why my phone records, when I'm the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, were sought by the Jack Smith agents? Why did they ask to know who I called and what I was doing from January 4th to the 7th? Can you tell me that?
No senator, and there were 8 senators in total.
And yeah, they should investigate this because I believe what they did was absolutely wrong. Where was the concern when you and I were talking about the NSA way back then from Republicans? And this and looking at it, look, we understand that we understand about secret warrants,
right?
But we know we know the whole damn system's been abused. By the government. Everything that was supposed to protect us from terrorists, ended up maybe some of it protected us from terrorists, but so much of it violated the rights of Americans. When the NSA was caught in it, it was actually Democrats.
Yep.
This goes back about, 12 years ago, 13 years ago?
Right.
And we were screaming, where are the Republicans screaming bloody murder about this? Then they believe they've been...
right.
Now,
exactly.
Website, RedEyeRadioShow.com. Show info with stations, podcasts, and more. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, so, look, by making the comparison to what happened 12, 13 years ago, we're not justifying it in any way.
No,
we're just saying with Republicans, especially Lindsey Graham, furious.
Yeah.
That Jack Smith was, got a grand jury to, basically, they didn't actually get, they didn't get any of the contents of the phone conversations, but who they called, when, and for how long, and that it was, number 8 different members of Congress: Lindsey Graham, Bill Hagerty, Josh Hawley, Dan Sullivan, Tuberville, Johnson, Loomis, Marsha Blackburn. They're furious. They're like, how did you come up with us? January 6th was a riot that went out of control.
Right.
What the hell did we have to do with it? What are you doing? What's going on? And they have totally legitimate questions for the fact that, he went after their private records. Our point was, when the NSA was doing it a long time ago, it was it was Wyden and Udall.
Wyden and Udall that
Democrats
wrote the secret court and said, look, we've got a great concern that this part of the Patriot Act has been grossly misinterpreted and therefore is being abused. And you and I said, hold on a second. There's a huge void here. Where are the Republicans that should be on board issuing in a formal way their concerns to the courts as well? And
we brought it up, and this goes back years ago. We got pushback from our audience that we were wrong to be questioning why the Republicans weren't on it. You and I were looking at each other going, since when did Republicans become pro illegal surveillance?
Right.
When the hell did that happen?
Right.
And then after the entire debacle and the dossier, and you could see how fake intelligence was used, to get a secret warrant, and it was all bogus and laws were broken. Finally, some Republicans woke up and went, well, maybe this shouldn't be happening. So our point is, no, not that they shouldn't look into it, but, you had people like Lindsey Graham. He was around at that time.
Yeah,
and we were like, where is the fury of the NSA that was doing illegal surveillance of American citizens getting caught up in this stuff?
Right.
Where was the fury back then? And we believe the fury should have been there because it led up to where we are today. It led up to what we saw with the FISA abuse that you had, and what we see of, a significant portion in the intelligence agencies didn't give a damn about the law.
Right. Right.
They didn't care about the law. People in the FBI, Comey, others didn't care about the FISA law. We saw it. They didn't use the normal investigative practices they should have used. They didn't have have evidence. They had bogus evidence. They didn't verify it, and they used it to get a secret warrant.
Right.
And then all Republicans are outraged. Why weren't you outraged at the beginning? To be permissive early on in this is what led to so many liberals in government going, man, they really don't care. Nobody really cares. Let's use this.
Right.
If nobody's going to object to it, let's just, go with it. That's our only point here. No, he should be ticked off, but understand that this is something that has been going on for a long time. We've been covering it for a long time and have found it completely and totally, unacceptable as to what has happened. And so now that it reached your doorstep, don't be surprised.
Well, again, this is the rot that we know exists, and the behavior that goes back years. Because if you think about, this whole thing with these 8 senators, man, let's get into tapping, the phones and monitoring, the phones or activity of lawmakers or presidential candidates from the GOP, in past election cycles or in years leading up to election cycles. Because the question would be, what did they want with in relation to what did Jack Smith want in relation to the whole J6 thing with these 8 senators? What do these 8 senators have in common? Well, the first thing is they're all members of the same party. But then beyond that, why would you be concerned about these 8 specifically? What committees are they on? What leverage do they have? What were they campaigning for? What were they vocal about in that whole thing that might undermine what you're doing? Or politically, on a whole other level, what might they be able to tell us about the opposition party in general? In other words, the old standard abuse of power. And it's, again, just one more example. You look at the Russian hoax thing, and everybody should be furious. Every American should be absolutely furious over the Russian hoax thing, and there are millions that still believe that the Russian hoax thing was true.
The Wall Street Journal speculating, they were using the alternative slate of electors as the obstruction of justice that they were looking for, and that's what he went to the grand jury with. But it was all bogus,
right?
Because none of that's illegal,
right?
None of that's illegal at all,
right?
And they were making it sound like it was illegal, and that somebody should be punished. And so, if you were communicating or believed in that, or said, well, maybe we should, with everything going on, we should delay it. You can have those opinions. Those do not warrant a warrant to tap your phones.
Right.
You don't get to do that as part of the, executive branch on members of Congress. Our point was we believe that how permissive it was going all the way back probably 20, 25 years ago, but what we uncovered with the NSA back when Udall and Wyden wrote that letter saying what's going on, and you and I were like, where are the Republicans screaming bloody murder?
Right, you got 2 Democrats. Right. That should have been a letter written and signed by a number of Republicans.
That should have been bipartisan.
It should have easily been bipartisan. But then we have to introduce the court documents that Sarah A. Carter and John Solomon, when they were with Circa News, this is related to basically the beginning stages of the Russian hoax thing, and those court documents that showed that the Obama administration in the fall of 2016 approached the secret court and said, hey, we know that you've been rebuking us and telling us, giving us directives to quit violating the rights of American citizens going back a ways, but we didn't do that, and our bad. We'll quit doing it now. And this was, again, the fall of 2016 when Obama was just months from being done as a two-term president. And you and I asked in that case, all right, well then they approach the FISA court and say, yeah, sorry, we kept doing it for a while, but we'll stop now that Obama's almost out of office. Our question was, well, what was that abuse of power? What was the FISA court concerned about when they were rebuking the, again, Obama administration and accusing them of violating citizens' rights? And it could be a number of things, but when you look at things like this, and you look at the Russian hoax, and you look at the pattern of behavior, then it really, I'm totally curious about what they were concerned about.
And you look at lawfare, because to me, this Jack Smith thing, part of lawfare, Wall Street Journal says it isn't far-fetched to think the FBI might have been trolling for evidence to charge one or more of the GOP senators with obstruction or another crime. Yet there's a historical precedent for alternative state of electors, as the law has recognized, even if Mr. Trump's to hijack the idea to stay in power wasn't good. Can a lawmaker even obstruct a congressional proceeding in which he is a participant?
Right.
Imagine if Mr. Smith had indicted a couple of Republican senators. And this is what it goes back to. It gets back to monitoring members of Congress to attempt to make up a crime.
Yes.
You don't even have the crime because your crime is something that's not a crime.
Right.
Yet you're attempting to convince a grand jury that it is a crime.
Right.
It's not a crime. And that's, the whole lawfare with Trump. That's what we dealt with.
And Russian hoax, the assignment of Mueller.
Right.
Which the end of the assignment for Mueller read anything else that you might find along the way, which basically broad brushed it right then and there in writing as a fishing expedition.
Yeah, because we knew, and we had said this way back, remember, before the Mueller report came out.
Yeah.
We said if the Mueller report, because we said this is how we knew it was bogus.
Right.
We said if the Mueller report does not go back, because if you started with a clean slate and said my job is to find out if Trump colluded with the Russians,
right,
the first thing you would have done, any investigator would have done, I don't have 1 second in law enforcement or investigative law enforcement, but I know what the first step would be. First step would be, all right, we need to find evidence. Anybody, do we have evidence? Is it clear that Trump colluded with the Russians? Well, they believe he did, and that's why we're here. All right, well, then we need to go to the FISA warrant because the FISA warrant would have the best evidence of law breaking from the Trump administration.
Yes.
Well, if you would have done that, you would have uncovered the DNC and Hillary Clinton conspiracy to set up Trump.
Well,
so since they didn't go that direction,
right,
we knew.
Is the warrant good?
Right. We knew they had nothing and they couldn't go in that direction. Why didn't they go in that direction? And why didn't they? And if they did they stop going in that direction when they found out it led right back to Hillary?
Right. Exactly. And what was the bogus piece that changed the approval process with the secret courts on that warrant? It was the dossier.
Yeah.
They had applied for the warrant without the dossier months earlier, didn't get the warrant on Carter Page. The dossier is introduced as part of the evidence, and then they approved the warrant and renewed that warrant, we know, multiple times. Look, like most Americans and like you, Gary, I got my law degree from executive producer Dick Wolf. I can hear the theme song right now, but it's a very basic process. I actually got a little bit of schooling from my dad, who taught law enforcement and criminal investigation, but I didn't need that. It's very basic. Anybody who's watched anything based in law, that knows anything based in law, the very basics of it is you start with looking at the warrant. Was the warrant good? The warrant is the door that leads to all the evidence. If the warrant isn't good, then you have no evidence.
By the way, just so people know, Dick Wolf was basically the creator of Law and Order.
Yes.
So people don't know that.
Right.
I like that.
But we
know enough. That's one thing. one thing American people, because we've talked about this before, there's been so many court shows on that people basically understand a significant portion of how courts work. And there may be drama involved in it, but they do deal with the law.
And you know how cases fail. Cases fail when the warrant is no good. The warrant's no good. All the evidence is thrown out. Boom. The guy walks.
I think the big thing to look at is that this is another example of, for example, what the liberals were attempting to do with lawfare. And now the senators are realizing they were attempting to do lawfare on us, but they just couldn't get there, but they were attempting to do it.
Yep.
And that's why they're now furious about it. But it all comes to this permissive structure.
Yes.
Intelligence doesn't matter. Leak whatever you want.
Exactly.
The law doesn't matter. Due process doesn't matter.
People's rights don't matter.
People's rights don't matter. 866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
We're Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. So, the whole Jack Smith thing, Republicans are going to use this and probably have hearings on it, and everything else because, to me, it's not just about surveillance.
Right.
It's about lawfare.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, the surveillance is an important part of it.
Yes, right.
But the surveillance ultimate goal was to an attempt, as we saw, to get Trump on bogus charges.
Right.
And I believe they were doing a fishing expedition to see if they could get senators on bogus charges.
Right. Exactly.
Because when you break it down, they're all bogus.
Yep.
You can't obstruct when you're part of the organization.
Exactly.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.